The reaction: I believe my wife is in limerence with someone. We've been together 11 years and married 5. She met someone at the gym about 3 months ago, never met him before in her life. At first, she tried to blame this all on me about her being unhappy and other small things in our marriage until I found out about this new guy she's emotionally involved with. When I confronted her about it, she didn't want me to tell anyone. Told one of her friends she feels love. Said she loves me but not in love with me. Now she wants a divorce. We haven't had any real issues leading up to something like this. She keeps defending this guy over everything and paints a picture of him being perfect. Said she never felt this way about me and she does about him. I mean, how can you say this about someone you've literally only known 3 months? 4 months ago, she was telling me and her we're going to be having a kid. She's already moved out, but she took her wedding dress and all of our wedding photos plus our rings. Does it sound like she's in a limerent state? We are seeing a lawyer today to get the stuff drawn up. I've already made it public with Jim Boy. I never said I wanted her back or am trying to keep her. She's already moved out and living with her brother, sister-in-law, so she's content until she gets her own place since she's never paid a bill in her life. No, it's not an instructor, just a PTA who works there. It will be a simple uncontested divorce. We have already agreed on what's what. How long does a quick divorce usually take? Mini update. Hello all. Let me start by saying that my wife wants a divorce, and at first, she made it seem like all my fault. Talks about how I didn't appreciate her, I wasn't there enough, which is a lie. I'm not emotional enough. We don't agree on politics and religion, which has been that since day one, 11 years ago, and our views aren't that much different anyways. Never been a problem before. At first, I thought that I was the problem and believed most of this until I found out she has been talking to someone else. I confronted her about it and she said he's a good friend. She met this guy 3 months ago. Yes, 3 months ago. Never met him before at all. When I found out it was more than that by looking at cell phone records, almost 8,000 text messages in 2.5 weeks, she couldn't deny it anymore. She asked me to not tell anyone about him because she doesn't want PPL to know she's out running and ruin her picture-perfect reputation she likes. I got the I love you but not in love with you anymore. I fell out of love with you. He makes me happy. I laugh with him like I never laughed with you. I never felt the way with you that I do about him. Again, she's only known him a little over 3 months and the texting only started the beginning of September. She also met him at the gym, physical therapy office. We have been together for 11 years, married for 5. We've known each other since elementary school and she was always the one chasing after me all the years. We had a good marriage and 11 years together, so she can try to rewrite our history all she wants and make herself believe she hasn't been happy for a while. It wouldn't have come to this anyway even if the other guy wasn't involved. Everyone keeps saying that the reasons she's giving are just excuses and not reasons to leave a marriage, and that the real reason she's leaving is because of another man. Which I agree. She just keeps saying that everyone is using him as a crutch and that's not her real reason. By the way, I was blindsided with this as well. She never told me how she feels about any of this to give me any time to fix it. She also has clinical depression as well, and I'm wondering if that has anything to do with it. All of her family is on my side and hasn't been speaking to her since all this started. The only people she's talking to about this is her sister-in-law, who she's living with, her new man, and her therapist. When she moved out, she took all of our wedding photos, wedding album, and her wedding dress. Why? Guilt. Doesn't this just sound like a stereotypical case of cheating and thinking the grass is greener? I know she wants the divorce. I'm focusing on myself to be better when I come out of this, so if she does try to return, I'll be in a better place and make a clearer decision. She will crash and crash hard when it doesn't work out with her new man, and I'll be the better of us then. I have already exposed her affair to just about everyone that we know. I even went up to where he works and let them know as well. She got mad about that. Go figure. He's not married. He's 32, single, and lives at home, from what I can find out. Divorce papers have already been filed and handed over to her attorney. We don't have any kids. We had originally agreed on how much money we both got and that the house was mine. It was mine before we got married. Now she wants half of everything after she got her own lawyer. I did expose her affair at the place where her man works, so I'm sure that's part of it, and I'm sure the lawyer put stuff in her head too. Also, I was visiting her parents last week and apparently, she drove by and saw me there, so she went to where she was staying and started listening to us via the webcams. I guess she heard something she didn't want to hear and then started blowing her parents' phones up saying hurtful things to them. This was last Wednesday, so earlier this week she saw the dogs outside at her parents' and stopped by and started talking to the dogs, and she briefly said something to her dad, and he told me that she was acting normal like nothing was going on. Like she didn't just say those things to them less than a week ago. Whenever she talks to me, she doesn't act normal at all. She acts like it's painful. What is this all about? Well, she's already trying to bring her new BF down to her parents' house. We aren't divorced yet. She wants them to try with him. They told her no way, of course. He wants to come down and talk to her dad about what's going on. I know this isn't important, but I thought it was funny and shows how much of fairytale land she's in. Well, her and her new man aren't spending Thanksgiving together. Seems like another red flag she's overlooking. She told her mom last week that she doesn't hate me and she would still do anything she could if I asked her to. Well, she thinks it's going to be forever. He understands her and she's never felt this way before. She moved out real quick once this all started. He's wonderful. We have our first divorce hearing the week, so we will see how that goes. She herself told me that she doesn't hate me a few weeks after this started. Should be interesting times ahead. Oh, and she said she would still do anything she could for me if I asked her to. Before I would ever consider any reconciling, the divorce would have to be done. I'll see this week what she's really looking for and if she's going to make it difficult or not. She's already said, you would love to see it not work out, wouldn't you? Why the hell would I want to see it work out? Why I'm pushing for this ASAP. I'm hoping it will be finalized this week. We will see if she tries to come back. I only speak to her when absolutely need be. Update. Well, it was finalized today. I kept the house, all my cars. No spousal support, no retirement, split up and just gave her a little more money. Outside when we were done, we were talking. She said, if you need anything, let me know, then give me a hug and kiss. Financially I am good with all this. I still need to talk to her here and there for some things before they get all done, but I won't be striking up any convos for sure. It's just crazy how all this has only been going on for about 2.5 months since we separated and now divorced. She mailed me a bunch of photos she had made of our bunny we had. He was our child, if you will, like all pets are. Then she put a note in there that ended with, as always, if you ever need anything or me to do something, please let me know. 2 years later, I was overweight and am now down about 85 pounds and almost don't look the same lol. I do feel better about myself for sure. When my ex-wife left, it was a large self-esteem blow for sure, and I had no drive for months and wasn't interested in dating anyone for the longest time. So recently I have been talking to someone for a while, and we met and had slept together. The first time seemed to have gone well, and then we went to try again. I had issues keeping it up. She was very good, understanding about it, and didn't make me feel bad about it. Is this something that over time will fix itself? I did take a testosterone test and my levels were low. Also, my ex-wife had a low libido, so we didn't sleep together a lot, and I got used to that and her not really initiating bonding much at all. My new girl is very understanding and she herself isn't putting shy pressure on. New place, her place, different woman and so on all adds anxiety and nervousness to the situation. We were lying in bed against each other and it rose but then went back down. Back when I was married, the ex and I would hug sometimes and that's all it took. My comment, maybe try to not think, just enjoy. Could be nerves, thinking too much, booze, lot of factors. Maybe best to talk with your doctor. Maybe it takes a little bit longer to get over your last relationship. Story 2. Found out H was talking about me behind my back to my son after I explicitly asked him not to. Son does not want to confide much in me because he doesn't want his father to think he is breaking his trust. H has lectured me twice in the last week, each time raising the level to pull at my guilt strings. Says my littlest shouldn't go to daycare for some low-paying job. That when we divorce, he'll hire a live-in nanny for little DS. That if I am going to look for work, I might as well look for a place to live. That 30 days seems more than enough time. I think he is just being a blowhard, but is so hard. H just asked me, sort of, for bonding for the first time in nearly 2 months. It was just last night that he was threatening to kick me out in front of the kids. So, I turned him down in probably not the nicest way. I said, really? After everything that has gone on? No. He gave me that condescending look and said, really? I thought you wanted to stay here. I guess I know where you stand. He has been playing passive-aggressive mind games lately, too. Now I am in tears. Again. Yay. It seems like that's all I can do. We have been together for 17 years. I have been a stay-at-home, homeschooling mother for the last 11 years. My eldest child is now in public school. My littlest would have to go to daycare, preschool full-time when I go back to work. My husband is, and has always been, notoriously unreliable and somewhat of a cynic. He has managed to keep a roof over our heads, food on the table, and clothes on our back and curriculum, supplies for my child's schooling. These are admirable qualities, and I have disappointed him with severe weight gain, depression, and poor housekeeping skills over the years, so my hands are not clean in the failure of the marriage. The past 3 or 4 years have been incredibly difficult for us. My husband cannot keep a job. He has had well over a dozen jobs during the course of our marriage with long bouts of unemployment, up to a year in some cases. He lies to get jobs, actually he lies period, has problems with authority, lectures and is critical of everyone, and has developed sticky fingers. He will not help around the house, even while unemployed. The house is on the brink of foreclosure. I have been without a vehicle for a better part of the last 4 years. He goes to court next month for check fraud, which could lead to jail time. He has an RX addiction, is sick, has migraines all the time. He has become verbally abusive, threatens divorce often, is passive-aggressive and plays mind games. Oh, and slept together once in the blue moon, which may have been my fault, but now I no longer care enough to even try to engage. I am going back to work. I have made a resume, applied to jobs, got an interview which didn't pan out. He hates that I am not backing off getting a job. I am allowed to work part-time, nights, weekends, If I insist on working full-time, he'll divorce me and give a nanny room and board to watch DS all day. Of course, if he goes to jail, what will be my options then? He never thought I would send DS to school, but I did, over his objections. My relationship with DS greatly improved and DS is doing well in school, so now H's tune has changed and sending DS to school was a decision we made together. I suppose that I hoped that once I got a job, and all the pressure was off to be the sole provider, that H would have a change of heart. I would let him save face like with sending DS to school. While H has always had job issues and been cynical, it is only the last few years that he has become so bad that I could not compensate. I guess I had hoped that when he saw that I actually had the option to leave, without going to a shelter, that he would get his act together. In fact, that I told him that I needed to get a job for self-esteem and not be reliant on him so much to kind of equalize the relationship. Funnily enough, when I got an interview, he actually got one, too. He starts on Monday after being out of work since before Christmas. But then the police investigation came. He has been escalating his verbal tirades, trying to alienate me from my eldest child, and playing games. Sometimes I come away thinking it is my fault, that I need to lose the weight fast, setting him off over something random and stupid. He doesn't rage all that often, but he lectures, becomes condescending, and holier than thou. He can spend hours telling you the proper way to do a chore but never actually do the chore, like washing eggs out of pan or putting plastic in the dishwasher. I have so many examples of random and stupid I could write a book. The worst thing about using the kids against me is how he thinks I won't fight for them. He decided that if we divorce, he'll take the eldest, who is self-sufficient and more of a man than his father, and I'll get the toddler. Right, like that would ever happen. Just these really random and bizarre threats, as if I can't take care of myself. When we are apart, I can think clearly. When I am with him, I shut down and am on guard. I have a dream of living in a small apartment or townhouse within walking distance of the library and park, somewhere close to my kids' school. I realize that many of my issues, like my weight, I can't focus on because I am too focused on him. I wonder if doing a little of the 180 plan might help me. I love my husband. I don't think you spend almost 20 years with someone and not have deep-seated feelings for them. You are supposed to be dependent on your partner, and they you. I don't think anyone goes into a relationship thinking that they have codependent tendencies. I think codependence comes on gradually. I don't think people think that they are enabling when in their heart all they want to do is help or get back an old feeling. Plus, he has not always been to the extreme that he is now. I know in my heart that things cannot stay as they are, and I am preparing myself mentally and emotionally to let him go, but I'd be lying if I said that it was easy or it was something that I wanted. It is something that needs to be done, though, I know. And yes, maybe that is how he hooks me and keeps me reeled in. It would be so much easier if I hated him, but I don't. He is simply broken in a way that I realize now that I can't overlook or repair or compensate for. I hate that I cannot help him, but as the saying goes, you can't help someone else if you can't help yourself. I get it. It's logical. But I hate it. He is my husband, the father of my kids. He may not be the greatest role model to them, but he does love them, and I hate messing with that. I know it sounds dumb, but I am so over being angry all the time. I am leaving because the tensions, angers, and uncertainties are unbearable. When I leave, I don't want it to be, from my end, filled with anger or hatred. I want it to be from a place of understanding and hope for a better future for all of us, including my husband. Maybe it will be the wake-up call he needs in his life. Maybe he will at least not have to stare a broken marriage in the face day after day. Maybe he will find someone else who knows how to deal with a man like him. Maybe with mom and dad not fighting anymore, the kids will be happier. I am Christian but have not attended church in quite some time. I wasn't always Christian, though. I came to God about midway through my marriage. My husband never did. I am having difficulty with a job after being home for the last 11 years. References are few and in between. I would like something secretarial or clerical, but it may be the best I can do is Walmart. I prefer not to discuss my kids other than to say that it will be difficult to arrange care for them without some kind of government assistance. That's really the pinch I am in financially. I can't get assistance until I move out, but I can't move out until I get a job. So, looking for a job is what I have been doing. The pay doesn't have to be great, but I need to show landlords that I have a reliable work history. Also, when it is time for the divorce, I need to prove to the court that I can support my kids without my husband's help if necessary. Well, my husband wouldn't think I am obedient. But obedience to my husband is not a factor. I don't want this life for my husband. I can see that he is a narcissist, but it does not make him happy. I don't understand why he can't see the position he is putting himself, and by proxy, me and the children in with these choices. He waits and procrastinates until someone makes a decision for him just so that he can avoid responsibility. So now I need to take responsibility. We were part of a co-opus for a couple of years, but it was very large and we didn't get very close to a lot of people. We have maintained some of the few friendships, but they are in no position to help either financially or with shelter. It is going to take time to be able to leave. I just want to do it with dignity. What my H wrote to me: it is obvious you don't want to be here, either in this house or in this marriage. The bickering is bad for the kids, and it gets irritating. I realize you're angry at me for something, and what it is essentially is that I no longer just shrug my shoulders at things. When people commit acts that are wrong, sloppy, or that I have asked to be done, not be done repeatedly, I don't brush it off anymore. I call the person to task about it. Today was a fairly productive day. I shut off the internet for everyone, including myself, and things got done. Your primary responsibility is and has been caring for home and family. When we started a family, that was what you wanted, along with homeschooling. You also said you wanted a house that we could own, not an apartment or a rental. My primary job was and is to bring in enough money for you to be able to do your job. I have done my part as best I can. We have never been homeless, or hungry, or without the necessities along with a few extras. I have done my level best, even over the last half-decade of skull-splitting headaches and lack of sleep every single day, to try and find stable, lucrative work. I have stuck with it not because of an overwhelming love for it, though I do enjoy it, but because in order for you to be at home with the kids I need to make a certain amount of money. And if I were to work as a park ranger or teacher or something I liked better, I wouldn't make enough. In the process, I identified a pattern. I would start at a place, put 150% effort into it, and slowly become frustrated with seeing the rest of my family not pulling their weight, or even trying. Eventually I would get to the point where I pretty much said to myself that I wasn't going to do it anymore until I saw it reciprocated. And the end result would be I either left or was cut. Several times I lost work due to bad luck or a bad fit, but several times it was the aforementioned reason. I'm not going to lay blame. Giving up working because of that reason is not a responsible way to act. Sometime after X was born, roughly around the time your mother died, you started to change. You didn't care about your appearance as much, you didn't want to do things together or just sit and talk like we used to. It happened slowly, but it happened. You may attribute it to leaving here, but that is not the cause. The truth of the matter is that I don't know what the cause is. I am not much different than when we first met, aside from the fact that I no longer brush off things that irk me or are wrong, unfair. You are at the point now where you do next to nothing all day. The vast majority of your time is spent on the computer. I have kept very careful track of your actions since October, which coincidentally was the last time you said, "I love you." Some days you will do a load of laundry, others you will do dishes, or sweep the kitchen, or some other daily task. These things are part of what should be getting done every day. When I am working, I am typically up no later than 6 a.m., and I get home around the same time or later. The bare minimum time you should be spending working on your job, is 6 hours. That is more than enough time for this place to look spotless. For things like bills getting paid, be getting some quality time, and the rest of what constitutes your job to be getting done. For example, it takes 5 minutes to whip up a brown bag lunch for me. We both know I am ridiculously easy to please in that department, and yet that has happened 5 times since June of last year. X should be bringing his lunch to school every single day, but instead it is easier to dump money into his account and tell him to get his own, without monitoring exactly what he eats or if he does at all. The level of caring about these issues that I perceive from you is next to zero. Again, I don't know why, and I have tried everything I can think of to find out from you what the issue is and how I can help, with no success. The default action you take is to blame me for things. If the house is a disaster, it is because I have too much stuff. If I am getting 5 hours of sleep at night on the couch, it is because I am up until 4 a.m. If my wallet gets washed, it is because I didn't take it out of my pants, even though I was likely going to be wearing them again the next day because they were clean. I never, ever receive an apology from you, nor do you ever admit you are wrong about something. One way or another, it becomes a fault with me. I was persecuting you because I complained about your registration being lost twice. The original was in the glove compartment. Or I was being a jerk because I asked you not to buy avocados anymore after having thrown away 6 of the last 7. You won't even consider addressing the weight issue. I have never once ridiculed you or belittled you about it, and have in fact offered to help in any way possible for over a decade. Yet the last time it was discussed, the exact term that was used was that it was not up for discussion. The single most important thing that would make me happy, and it just doesn't matter to you in the least, because to address it would be to admit you had a problem or fault. It would be easy to go on, but that would be pointless. You are an extremely intelligent woman. You know that these things are facts. You can't possibly look me in the eye and tell me that you are trying your best, or even trying at all. The crap is a prime example. It started out as all of your big projects do, with you throwing 150% of your effort into it, hitting a single speed bump or slowdown, and dropping it in its tracks. I would like to say I am sorry I have to broach this in an email, or in a manner that you will certainly see as a personal attack, but the fact of the matter is that I am not. I feel like a fool for letting myself be taken advantage of for so long and not putting my foot down, but better late than never. You need to make a decision. Either you change your approach and attitude to life, myself and our family drastically and quickly, or we go our separate ways. If you want to leave, so be it. I will need a time frame in your plan in order to make sure things go smoothly. If not, that's great, but I expect to see a completely different person within days. He has done this before. He has never blocked my phone. I have a car to use, even if it does have a lot of issues. He believes if he shuts off the internet I will get more done around the house. The internet is really the least of my worries when it comes to isolation. For a long time, I bought my husband's BS as he criticized other people. I believed that he was the smart one and our friends and family weren't worthy of his presence in their lives. I took his side on over contentious family issue from both sides of the family. Now I feel like a fool. Everyone tried to tell me what my H was like. I just never listened. I became angry and bitter just like him. I had always been an introvert, but the lessons I learned from my husband had me isolating myself. So it got to the point last year that I went on Facebook and told people I was out of a car at the time and to please drop by and visit at any time. No one came. Who would want to be around me? I sort of viewed it people just not feeling connected to me anymore, which was my own fault. So, when people ask if I have anywhere to go, no, I still have friends and family, but I have to make a concerted effort to be with them, and I don't want to impose on them either. My father is elderly and disabled, in-laws are busy with their own lives, friends don't have the room. One time I barked at my husband about his medication use, how he wasn't sick in bed, he was strung out for 3 days, and the next thing I know my anti-anxiety medication has been moved on me. He wasn't popping my meds, he decided to teach me a lesson about bringing up his meds by hiding mine. Or the time when I asked him to back up the truck on our steep icy driveway so I could get the snow blower out and he backed the truck up into my car and busted the taillight. The most recent time was when we weren't home when he got home from work. I was bringing kiddo to youth, and I came home to the cable being disconnected. He was mad because I hadn't had time to condense the dinner plates into one and left them on the counter intending to clean up when we got home. He began blasting out our son, for no good reason, so I sent our son to his room and told H to stop being passive-aggressive. It was obvious he was mad at me but was bullying our son because he didn't want to say it outright to me. Of course, this led into the weekly tirade. I just kind of absorbed a lot of negative character traits from my husband, or maybe I was always a bit selfish and the relationship exacerbated those qualities. I don't know. I never actually said to myself I am better than so-and-so, it was more an attitude, a way of approaching life. Nobody ever confronted me about my attitude or anything. They just distanced themselves from me, which is healthy, versus how I was distancing myself from them, which was unhealthy. How much of the distancing was due to not knowing how to deal with my H to dissatisfaction with my attitude? I am still trying to work through that. The fact that I am an introvert doesn't help much either. So that is what I mean by isolation. Yes, my situation is unique to me. I want to correct faulty thinking. If I am treating my husband unfairly, how much of his behavior am I reaping, as you put it, through my own bad behavior? Like I did with my friends. On the one hand, nothing I have done justifies the level of his actions. On the other hand, I am codependent, which does seem to exacerbate these actions. Am I reaping what I sow with my husband? More and more I just feel like negativity feeds on negativity, and the only way to break the cycle is to leave. 6 years later, and I literally do not know what to do with myself. I am not grief-stricken exactly, nor am I angry exactly. I do not want him back, but I want him to be hurt, lost without me and the boys, apologize, change his behavior in some meaningful way. For instance, he had been unemployed for 2.5 years, fired from his last job, so no unemployment or COVID relief. I moved out 3 weeks ago, still no job. I will not be getting child support in the near future. He got into a fight with our landlord, and even though I paid the rent by myself on time every month, helped her with surgeries, snow removal, dog, we were asked to leave and threatened with eviction. I asked him to move out so me and the boys could stay. He refused. Now he is still there and I am in a more expensive apartment in a bad part of town. He has recorded our son saying, "Mommy told me to be mean to you," which I never said. Clearly, he is putting words in my son's mouth to make me look bad in court, and I haven't even filed the divorce papers yet. In essence, he is still the same person after splitting up that he was when we were together. If I hate him for anything, it's him proving me right. I thought I was the one in the wrong for most of our marriage. I wanted to be in the wrong because I could control myself. When I finally realized it was him, not me, it should have been a freeing experience. Instead, he had to go ahead to prove me right. And lest anyone think it was an awakening moment and I just walked away with my kids. It wasn't like that. I was so scared. Housing is hard to find as it is, but if your credit is not perfect, forget it. Not a single friend or family member who told me to leave offered a place to stay or to watch my son while I worked. Unless I wanted to move 5 states away and run the risk of kidnapping or complicating custody via courts, I had to go to several housing advocates, get discount for utilities, and I am still working on those things to boot. I was doing all that before with him, and for him, now without, and I am so tired. Is this kind of resentment normal? Where do I go from here? Feeling so lost. I should be happy, but I am not. My ex still has the power to make me question myself. Sometimes I find myself just sitting and staring into space and not following things through. Like the divorce papers. I can literally walk to the courthouse in 5 minutes and get the ball rolling. I mean, after all, a parenting plan is a must, and yet I haven't done it. Why? I have no intention of going back, so why not just rip the band-aid off completely? I need to figure out summer plans for my son, but I am overwhelmed. And when I manage 2 steps forward, STBX slams me with something else. Things that he never cared about, like which school my youngest goes to, for instance. Or why won't I pick up his medicine for him anymore. Or insisting on keeping one of the cats until she gets sick and needs a vet he can't pay for, then all of a sudden, I can take her. I have a job, it pays okay, but I am not rich by any stretch of the imagination. Or when he bullies me to take my youngest overnight against my express wishes, then calls me at 9:30 because he can't deal with our son's medical issues. The list goes on and on and on. So, if it seems like I have a plan, thank you for thinking so. It is a very, very loose plan that I feel I am failing at, which makes me depressed and angry, and those are feelings he weaponizes against me. And then what about the utter sorrow I feel? How does one overcome that? He didn't fight for us during our marriage, so why does it hurt that he didn't fight to keep us? But it does. It hurts so bad sometimes. 21 years and he just watched us leave. It floors me sometimes when I least expect it to. My comment, the crap he is pulling, why can't you pick up my meds, I'm keeping the cat, until inconvenient for him. He is trying to manipulate you and your emotions with this. See, I'm such a great dad and you are keeping my son from me, I want him overnight. As for your interactions with him, you should be talking to him only about the divorce, finances, custody.